I know it's well, late or early, depending on what you're doing right now, but I was up. I figured I'd get on live, so I'm gonna wait for somebody to show up. Hopefully somebody does. Though I know what time it is right now. I know most of you are not in my time zone at the moment, so we'll see if somebody shows up. I see one like in the chat, but I'm not seeing a person in the chat. Oh, there's somebody in the chat. Say hi, say what's up. Let me know who you are. No surrender, no retreat. Hey VJ. What's up? No surrender, no retreat. How you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you as well, Gary. How is your Friday? I mean, it's Friday here now. It's, it's early in the morning, but it is Friday. How are you? How are you guys doing? I hope you're doing good. Can't sleep. Me neither. I was sleeping, but then I remembered I didn't take the dogs out. So I got up. I mean, I woke up and then I remembered I didn't take the dogs out, so I went to go take the dogs out, and now here I am. Justice for Chosen. Hey, I like that username. That's a nice username. Justice for Chosen. One day, eh? Just I wonder what, because I pray. And when I pray for justice. And I wonder, what does justice look like? What does justice look like for us? For what's being done to us? What does justice look like? And will we see justice? Now, I think we'll see justice, some form of justice, but what will it look like? Isn't that intriguing? It's evening in Australia. Yeah. I was expecting somebody from down under to be in the chat. Thank you for being here. Revelations. Expound. Explain. What do you mean? Pretend I haven't read the Bible. Pretend I don't know what you're talking about. I want you to expound on what you think justice will look like for us. You said revelations. What will it look like? Sorry, VJ. I have been followed. Now, have you been followed by a psychiatrist by choice, VJ? Or is this like state mandated therapy? What are we talking about? Because if you're going by choice, you have a choice. If you feel like this person does not have your best interest at heart. I'm not telling you what to do, but revealing the truth. Revealing the truth. Justice for Chosen. Revealing the truth, and then what? And then what? What happens after that? Hey Charlie, what should happen after that? What would be justice? We're talking about crazy stuff, Charlie. The topic is gang stalking, as always. It is always gang stalking. They have 2 days to intervene. Intervene in what? Ever since 2020, I have not been in talking terms. Take jabs. Family has been. Well, that's interesting. VJ says that ever since 2020, because he refused to get vaccinated, his family has not spoken to him. What a weird reason not to talk to a family member. Maybe I'm just tripping. It's almost 4 a.m. in Florida. I can't sleep. Hey, see Truth Life. I can't sleep either. It's almost 4 a.m. I mean, I'm in the same time zone as you, and I'm up, so my situation is very similar to yours. I just made my first Bible meditation app. Hmm. Flip side. I'm sorry, I don't know what all of that means. Asian. Any law enforcement misconduct. Yeah, Smile, you're human. I don't think you're right. Oh, this is funny. Somebody said, if you refer to yourself as comrade, which side of the Berlin Wall would you live on pre-89? This is funny because I was researching this morning. I was researching about the Civil War in Germany, and I was researching basically how the East and the West were separated and why they were separated, because I was studying Zersetzung, which was happening in East Germany. East Germany was, I believe, controlled by, um, I can't remember, but I think it was controlled by Russia, actually. East Germany, no, West Germany was controlled, no, East Germany was controlled by Russia. West Germany was controlled by like France and other countries, you know. Um, let's see, was controlled by, okay, so East Germany was controlled by the Soviet Union, and West Germany, that's strange. West Germany was controlled by the United States, Great Britain, and France, back in the 50s. And it's funny that Trail Rider is talking about this because this is something that would be sort of from the 50s to the 90s, up to the 90s, um, well, up to 1990. But it's funny that Trail Rider is talking about this because this is something that would be referred to as directed conversation. If you're researching something and you haven't talked about it to anyone, which I haven't, between the 20 hours of me searching it, I didn't talk about it to anybody. I didn't talk about it to my wife. Um, it's a coincidence that he brings it up, but directed conversations are usually um, coincidences. So you'll watch a movie that's about something, not like a movie on being like broadcasted on TV that everybody's watching at the same time, but like you'll go on Netflix or whatever and watch something, a documentary, a movie, whatever, you'll read a book, anything really. And someone in your life will make a reference to that. Um, so am I saying Trail Rider is a gang stalker? I don't know. Honestly, I don't care. It doesn't matter. If he says anything weird, he'll be blocked. But I'm just saying this is one of the instances where this could be chalked up to a coincidence, or it could be gang stalking. It could be that he's fully aware that when I woke up this morning, the first thing I started researching was, before I even got out of bed, the first thing I was researching was um, the situation in Germany, because I was researching how did Zersetzung, which is a program that was being run by the Stasi in Germany, um, which is Zersetzung means, it's a German word that means erosion, decomposition. It was gang stalking before gang stalking, you know, and they would enter people's homes, put listening devices in them, move stuff around, steal things, add things, go to your neighbors, you know, start rumors about you, things of that nature, to ruin your reputation. And it was done by the Stasi, which was the East Germany secret police, basically their version of the CIA or the FBI, federal police. And I was researching that because I wanted to know how did it end? How did Zersetzung end? Because it was happening and then it stopped. And the way that it ended was when East Germany basically lost the war and the wall of Berlin was brought down. Um, and West Germany won. Basically, Russia lost. The Soviet Union lost. Germany, East Germany, and now Trailwriter is asking me which side of the wall would you live on pre-89 if you refer to yourself as comrade. Comrade is a term that the Soviet Union would use to call themselves as they were communists. And obviously, you know, if you tell that to anyone, they'll tell you you're reading too much into it. This guy is just making a comment about, the Berlin Wall, about Germany. Whatever, who cares? Um, but I'm letting you guys know that this morning, the first thing I did this morning was research that. And now he's talking about it. So we'll see, what the rest of his comments look like. And from there, I'll decide if I block him or not. Or maybe I'll block him anyways. Maybe, I don't care. Maybe I'll block him anyways, just because I feel like what he said was weird and I feel no way about it. If he wasn't participating in gang stalking or, doing something weird, then, there are other pages that he can follow, and maybe he'll say something that convinces me that he's not trying to mess with me. Doesn't matter much. I just felt like, I'm here, I'm on live, it's happening now. I might as well talk about it just so that people can understand an example of directed conversation. All right. In dysfunctional families, communication is compartmentalized. The abusive parents act like attorney among sibling communication. Yeah, you're right. I would agree with that. Okay. Our children. Jazzy Bean says, our children. We won't go boom. Huh? The DA told them to quit lying. I'm sorry. Which flag is that? I'm sorry. Which flag is that? I can't tell what flag that is. Is that Iran? Let's let's see. Which flag? Oh, it is. It is. Somebody's posting the Iran flag in a chat. I'm guessing you're from Iran. Sorry for Justice for Chosen. I was rambling a little bit here. I do that. I'm already facing reputation destruction among my neighborhood. My sibling, false rumor about me being conspiracy theorist. Um, I would say don't get too upset about it. What people say and do behind your back is none of your business. I heard that one day. I heard somebody say that one day. I thought it was wise. Now, obviously, if it's hurting your business, if it's hurting your life, uh, it's no longer, them just saying stuff. It's civil conspiracy. So at this point, I would say you might want to talk to a private detective or a lawyer or both, really, and get some consequences rolling for the people who are participating in that because it is illegal. Um, but as far as like, losing friends, things of that nature, people, switching up on you, I wouldn't worry too much about that. I don't worry too much. I moved in this new place here about 7 months ago. The neighbors were super nice to me. One of the neighbors, well, all the neighbors were super nice to me, and then one of the neighbors has completely switched. You know, what can I do about it? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Uh, I've gotten absolutely used to the surveillance. It's a norm. And even the government said they're going to pass a bill to legally go inside your phone now, as if this hasn't already been happening. Yeah. Obviously, we haven't had privacy for a long time, for, almost 20 something years now. Um, maybe more, maybe even more, because I think that, you know, they are using these attacks on attacks on the US in order to justify what it is that they were already doing in the first place. They say it's, we passed the Patriot Act, and that gave us, bypass to, no longer respect people's privacy, certain people's privacy, especially if you're on a list of targeted individuals for counterterrorism or criminal activity. But I think they were already doing that. I mean, I know they were already doing that. There's proof, Um, it's just they sort of saw it as an opportunity to justify what it is that they were already doing and legalize it. And the government always wants to overreach um, into your life. It's kind of what they do. The left side is not as bad as the right side, but they both do it. And to me, there's no like lesser evil. You're either evil or you're not. And I think both sides are evil. Jesus said, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. Jesus is prophet. Amen. On federal files, sorry. Is Trump helping Iran? Iran. I don't know. I don't think Trump is helping anybody. I think Trump is helping Trump. Um, what is your opinion about Islam? Like as a religion? I don't really have an opinion about this. I don't know enough about Islam to have an opinion about Islam. I think I have, friends that are Muslim. They're pretty great people. I think anything that brings you closer to God and that um, makes you act in a godly way or teaches you godly um, ethics or way of life is a good thing. That's my opinion about not just Islam, but any religion that is teaching good moral values. Hitting the it's almost like white noise. It is. Yeah. So Azori saying that they're basically doing noise campaigns outside. Sorry to hear that, brother. Uh, now it's helicopters. Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, personally, noise campaigns have never bothered me. I used to have a neighbor that would, I don't know how he could afford it. He could barely afford a car. Um, and his wife worked at, like as a cashier at a pharmacy, but he, out of nowhere, he got this super nice Harley Davidson bike. And every weekend he would rev it right by my window. I mean, he would literally bring it right up to my window, and he didn't need to. He didn't have to. We all had our specific parking space, or he could have done it on the street or whatever, but he just brought it right up to my window every weekend on Saturdays and Sunday in the morning, and he would just rev it. And at one point, he was doing it while I was getting ready to leave. And as I walk out and he's doing it, he notices me and then he turns his bike off and he says, I'm sorry, I hope I didn't wake you." And I was just like, I just, turned around and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "I hope I didn't wake you." And I just like, "No." And I walked away. And you could see like he was kind of disappointed. Um, I thought it was really funny. I thought it was really funny because at the same time he was a really old man, probably like 70s, you know? And his wife was really sweet though. His wife was really a sweetheart. Um, but I always thought it was such a weird thing for him to do, like bring his bike up to my window and rev it. And it didn't bother me. It never bothered me. But um, I would tell him like, "Hey, you got a really nice bike," because he had a great bike, and I was just wondering like, how did he afford it? How could he afford that? But obviously now I know, they probably gave it to him. Anyways, um, but yeah, I always thought it was so strange because I was like, you know, you're doing all this noise campaign every weekend for several months, for like at least 6 months. He would just rev his bike. This lasted during the summer. It lasted, 3 months during one summer and then 3 months on the next summer. And he would literally do it every single Saturday and Sunday morning, every single one of them. He never missed. And it was always right in front of my window. And at one point he said, I hope it doesn't bother you. And I said, well, you could do it, further away from my window. And he was like, yeah, sure. And he never did. He came right back and did it right there. Not that it bothered me. It didn't. But, I just thought to myself, like, why do it here? You can do it somewhere else. If you think you're bothering me or people that live above me, like you can do it somewhere else. But he just kind of wanted to do it there. And I always thought it was weird. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to the point, but I always thought it was weird because he was like in his mid 70s, and I was just like, "Aren't you afraid I'm gonna like take off on you?" Because like what are you gonna do if I take off on you? Like you're not gonna be able to defend yourself against me, you know? Aren't you afraid? Because obviously if you keep doing that, your goal is probably to irritate me. And but what if you did wake me up? And what if you did annoy me? And I decided like I got angry because like you never know, like especially when you wake people up, you never know how they're gonna react. Um, they could get really violent. And I was just like, aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid I'm gonna do something to you? Because I can. And if I do something to you, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, of course, I'll get in trouble. I do realize that, but before I get in trouble, you're in trouble. I just thought that was such like a strange thing. I was like, do you have backup? Like, do you have people on standby? Because you're putting yourself in danger here. I mean, not actually, because I would never do anything like that, you know. Um, but I always thought it was strange. I was like, you're 70. You're putting your like, you know. I was listening to this man who's going through V2K, and he was saying, I go through V2K all the time and no one is helping me. And I go to, people to get help. To my state, my Congress, my state representatives, uh, city representatives, and no one is helping me. Um, but he was saying, I'm trying to, though I'm going through this all the time, um, I try to be to play the long game and be patient and wait for this to get resolved. Um, or just like playing the long game and not react. And then he said, there are some people like, Myron May and I believe his name is Aaron Alexis. or something like that. Aaron Alexis. Yeah, Aaron Alexis and Myron May, who both were targeted individuals, self-proclaimed targeted individuals, um, and ended up committing mass violence on people. And he said there are some people who will just wake up one day and just, you know, you know, take you out for messing with them. And he was saying like I'm not gonna do that. I'm trying to remain calm. Now, obviously, to me, that's not an option. Like I have a lot of options before I would ever think of doing something like that. Obviously, everybody has sort of a limit. Um, but I'm saying like before I do anything like that, I would remove myself from the situation. I just don't consider anything or anyone important enough for me to throw my life away in order to retaliate. I just don't care all that much, you know? And when it comes to revenge is often done because you want to quench the thirst of your ego for vengeance. Count 1 to 10. What? You want to quench your thirst, your ego's thirst for vengeance, and or you want to teach somebody a lesson. And me personally, my ego does not, demand vengeance from anyone. I don't care. The only reason why I would care about, getting retaliation from someone is if you take food off of my table, if you take money out of my pockets, then I'm going to go to through the proper channels to make sure the proper legal channels to make sure that, I get my money back, whatever you've taken from me, um, you know, give it back. But my ego would never demand vengeance. I just don't care. I don't care all that much. If you're low vibration enough to do things like that, then you're no like first of all, I'm very grateful that you show it, that you've shown it to me, that you are that type of person, and I would just stay away from you, you know. One thing that being abused as a child by my parent has taught me is I'm not a tree, you know. If you're being abused, move, go somewhere. Like, even if it's like in your own home by your spouse, by your parent, by your sibling, whatever, it's like leave. It doesn't matter where you go. Go in your car. Go sleep in your car. Go take a ride. Go, sit at a McDonald's. But like, if you're being abused, leave. Go. You don't have to, be a willing participant in like the scene of your abuse. Um, and very often when it comes to dealing with people that have these narcissistic, psychopathic, abusive tendencies or behaviors, there's no right answer. Like there's no right response to their behavior that will make them stop, that will not end up with you going to jail, you know? It's like, yes, if someone is bullying you, usually the way to make them stop is, you know, to let them know like, hey, I'm a dangerous person. Like I'm not harmless. There will be consequences for your actions. But that only works if you're willing to go to jail, you know? I'm just not willing to go to jail for you. I mean, there are some things that I'm willing to go to jail for sure, you know? You touch someone I love, um, I mean, I might call the cops, but after, you know? Anyways, the point I'm making is I just don't find anyone all that important to throw my life away because of my ego. I'm not ruled by my ego. Um, and I feel sorry for people who are, and I just don't care to stoop down to your level. Anyways, they pull your chain. Yeah, I mean that's what they do. They pull your chain. Hey, Jem Jem, how's it going? It's funny, Jem Jem is from Nigeria, is is in Nigeria, and the time for the timing for the live stream, the live stream she's saying is okay. It's 4 in the morning. You will never see me at this time again, more than likely. Um, my ego is worth more than 5 billion humans' lives combined. Well, such is your choice. Um, Someone talks Arabic. I don't speak Arabic. Hey, Gracie. Salam alaikum. Walaikum salam. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord, and our understanding of people is so limited compared to God's. Amen. He says something about anger management. No, as a matter of fact, he didn't say anything about anger management. Um, I wonder, I wonder, there was a guy earlier who had mentioned something about prayers the route, demons, great help. What? Trail Rider. Are you still here, Trail Rider? Trail Rider's not writing anything anymore. Have you read John Eckhart's Apostle? All right. Let's see what is it that you're talking about? I've never read any books by him. No. Overseer of Crusaders Ministries, located in Chicago, gifted with a strong apostolic call. I have not. And for the most part, any religious leader or leaders of any kind, I just don't trust. So I probably wouldn't know. I seen strange insect-like drones that were monitoring me while I was at my uncle's place. Whoa, that's strange. Somebody said, "I'm sorry, he's gay." Okay. Sorry, I'm just gonna block him real quick because how is this even relevant? I just told the narcissist I'm about to divorce off yesterday. He has been bullying and threatening me my entire life. Um, you're saying that your husband is your soon to be ex-husband is a narcissist, and you told him off. You told I just told the nar. Okay, so you told him off. Like you cussed at him. I mean, hey, sometimes sometimes it's justified. It's just that in any situation where I feel like I am justified to cuss someone out, I also feel like if I'm justified to cuss you out, I probably shouldn't be around you. So I'm not gonna cuss you out because that's energy. I'm not gonna give you that energy. I'm just going to get away from you. It feels so much better. It's like blocking people on here, for example. They say something weird like something about, LGBT, or some comment about, you know, in like making like a comment about directed conversation about my life or something like that, or you know, making some comment about you look like Diddy or something like that. And I'm just like, oh, I love blocking people. The more the merrier, you know? And I do realize that like when they do it in order to chip at you. Like the goal is to irritate you. Well, to irritate us, right? The goal is to like to irritate, to like annoy. Like it's like gnats or mosquitoes, right? You get bitten once, twice, yeah, you go, this is annoying. But like if you get bitten like 300 times, eventually you're like, okay, this is enough, right? You kind of lose it, right? But me personally, I don't view it that way. When it comes to like blocking people or getting away from people. I just I don't have I don't have that sort of ego um ego wound that I feel needs to be avenged or um I just see it as you're low vibration and I'm not. And I'm sorry for you, but I'm not coming down to your level. Like that's never happening. I'm never coming down to your level because my actions would say much more about me than they would say about you. Just because you deserve, to get your ass beat, for example, it means nothing. If I do it, that speaks to my character, not yours. Anyways, what is your age? I'm not sure. I think I'm 38. I'm 38. Yeah. Soon to be 39. Why? No fixing a narc. That's right. There's nothing that will fix a narcissist. The only solution is getting away from these people. That's the only right thing to do is get away from these people. Let them be somebody else's problem. Let them be somebody else's lesson, you know? Some narcissists think you're weak. I've been silent for so long and I'm done. Well, you know, when it comes to narcissistic abuse, I think that anger is a good thing because anger will push you to action, right? Um, I love the expression "we're not angry enough." We've been hearing that a lot lately, haven't we? You're not angry enough, and I think anger will push you to action, and I think anger is important. However, I think the action should not be to cuss people out, and I'm not judging you for cussing someone out, especially if they deserved it and they've been abusing you for a long time. Um, I'm only saying that, you know, your anger should be used in a manner that is positive for you. Cussing someone out will feel good in the moment. What will feel good in the long run is getting yourself away from that person forever. That's something to celebrate. That's a good use of your anger. You know, this is something that my twin brother used to really. He sort of taught me through his behavior. Like anytime that we would be abused by our parent, he would just go. He would leave. You know, and he moved out of the house when he was like 16 or 16, maybe 17. When we were 17, he just moved out. He was like, enough of this, and he moved out like the building next door. Yeah, he was like, enough. It's enough. Uh, you know, and I think basically your anger is it's your ego telling you like, hey, I don't deserve this. You know, because your ego is always saying, what about me? What about me? What about me? And when someone is triggering your ego, usually it's because they're trying to diminish um, the importance of you as a person, or the respect you deserve, the kindness you deserve, the treatment you deserve as a human being. And for you to get angry is basically your ego saying, hey, no, I'm not okay with this. And the proper solution is not to then involve yourself in giving that person more narcissistic supply by giving them negative attention, because attention to a narcissist, whether positive or negative, is the same. As a matter of fact, most narcissists prefer negative attention because it makes them feel important. It makes them feel powerful to know that they can upset you. They can get you out of your character. And it's easier for them to get that than to get admiration, for example. Um, which is why you have a whole bunch of trolls online writing comments, because it makes them feel special and important. It makes them feel powerful to see somebody react based off of their words, or, you know, it makes them feel like, hey, I matter. I'm someone, you know. Um, but I personally feel like, you know, it's important to vibrate at a level that is much higher than them, in the sense of, once they show you, you know, that they don't have respect for you, you just show, well, I have respect for myself, and I'm not going to interact with someone who doesn't respect me, because, you know, you're allowed to not respect me. That's totally up to you. But you can't be around me. You can't have my energy and also not respect me. Like, I'm not going to give you more energy because you don't respect me. And oftentimes what we're doing when we're angry and we, you know, lash out at people who are disrespecting us, is we're trying to negotiate respect. And respect is never negotiated, you know? It's either you respect me or you don't. And if you don't, it's fine, but I'm out. I'm gone. Goodbye, you know? Treat somebody, or, you know, if it's somebody that's living with you and not you living with them, then you just go, get out. Now you leave. Now you go. We're not arguing on whether or not I deserve respect. I do. That's it. If you disagree, that's fine. Leave. Or, you know, you leave. That's the only right response. The only right response to narcissistic abuse is leaving. And trust me, it might not feel good at first, you know, because your ego has not been avenged, or because you still have feelings for that person, or because you have so much anger and you feel like this is unfair, you know, this person deserves, you know, to feel some kind of pain because they've been, you know, inflicting pain on me for so long. But really, what you're doing is not you know, letting them off easy. What you're doing is having enough respect for yourself to go, I deserve much better than this. But never, never, ever will I ever accept being treated like this again. Ever. I'm out. You're not a tree. Boundaries. There you go. Exactly. Hey, Harriet. How's it going? Harriet's from Ghana. A lot of people from West Africa here. Um, this morning I woke up to a bank alert from him. I didn't reply him. He can't use his money to manipulate me. Hey, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. That's what's up. That's what's up. Because you know, anything they do for you has strings attached, you know? It's like, oh, let me give you like this, you know, this $100. In exchange, all I ask is your self-respect. Can you accept to be treated without respect because I gave you some money? Nah, bruh. I'm cool. I'm worth more than that. I didn't curse him out. I just set boundaries that I won't put up with his BS. Yeah, you know, oftentimes boundaries, you know, are mistaken for, and I'm not saying that's your case, but oftentimes boundaries are mistaken as like you telling people how to treat you. But really, boundaries is not just that. I mean, does it include that? Sure, it can. But usually boundaries, what it involves is you having consequences for people not treating you the way that you should be treated. And you also have to remember that you don't have to negotiate how you should be treated with people. You know, if someone is treating you in a manner that is not according to what you feel you deserve, you get to enact whatever consequences you feel is right in that moment without discussing with them, because obviously discussing with them is not going to bring any result. You know, it's like, if this person could be convinced that you deserve respect, they wouldn't have to be convinced that you deserve respect. You feel me? um so at the end of the day, it's just, there's really no point in talking to these people if you treat me with no respect. You know, if somebody is treating me with no respect, but it's somebody that has in the past, and you know, that I have a good relationship with, then yeah, sure, I'm going to say, hey, no, you don't talk to me like that, you know? Um, I might give them like a stern warning, And this is a stern warning, by the way. Just be like, hey, no, I don't accept this. Rectify this behavior now, or else, you know. But if it's someone that has habitually disrespected me, I don't need to discuss with you like, oh, today I've decided that I must be treated with respect at all times, and if you don't, then there will be consequences. Now, bitch, fuck you. You know what I mean? You feel me? It's like today. It's like I tell myself today I've decided that I need to be treated with respect at all times, and whenever I'm not, I will act accordingly, and I will take anyone out of my life who is not treating me with respect because that's what self-respect is. Self-respect is not just saying things about yourself or, in the way you act. It's also in who you allow to be around your energy, to be around your space, you know? And sometimes you're not able to get people out of your space, but you can always take yourself out of any space where you're not being disrespected, you're not being respected because you're not a tree. If you're being abused, move around, go somewhere. Um, I walked away from my narc boyfriend. It's been a year since we last spoke and seen each other. It's hard, but it was the right thing to do. Got that right? That's right. Come see more reactions. That's an interesting username. What? That's an interesting username. Oh, you're a YouTube gaming streamer, content creator. Ah. Hmm. Making someone believe you said something and then becoming enraged at you. Hmm. He is not reasonable. I advised him that he is not allowed to contact, except it has to do with the kids. I just feel at peace. Yeah, that's a good boundary to have, you know? I personally think that when you when you put up a boundary with someone that is narcissistic, um, when you put up a boundary with someone that is narcissistic, I personally feel that it's important to remember that they're not going to respect your boundaries. Like that's not going to happen. Even if they say they will, and even if they do for a time, eventually they're not going to respect that boundary. Um, but it's not up to them to respect your boundary, and it's your boundaries, and it's not up to you to make them respect your boundaries. It's up to you to have consequences when your boundaries are disrespected. And for me personally, like for example, if I tell someone like for example, I used to have I was in a relationship for about 13 years, and at the end of the relationship, my ex used to call me on the phone, and I refused to answer because I didn't want to talk to her on the phone. I was just like, if you want to say something to me, text it to me or like write me an email. And she left me a voicemail saying, you're such a baby. You can't even talk on the phone. Like what kind of BS is that and blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't owe you anything. We're not in a relationship anymore. We don't have kids. We have nothing that attaches us, together. As a matter of fact, the day after I moved out, one of our mutual friends, who's no longer a friend, and I'm pretty sure she was a gang stalker at the time as well, but she's definitely a one of my gang stalkers now. But she called me and she said, I just saw your ex. The day after I moved out, she said, I just saw your ex, at the liquor store. Our liquor stores are not like liquor stores. Our liquor stores are government owned. So are our dispensaries. Our dispensaries are state owned, state owned, and the liquor stores are also state owned. So she saw her in a state owned liquor store, and I was like, that's weird. She doesn't drink alcohol. And she was like, oh, she was with another guy. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah. And she said it, she was like, oh, he looks kind of like you. And I was like, oh, I think it might be her ex. So I sent her a picture, and I was like, was it that guy? And she was like, yeah. So after 13 years of being in a relationship with that person, the day after I leave, her ex was right back with her. Just kind of give you an idea of like what kind of person she was, But yeah, um, the point I'm making is that she kept trying to call me. And I do remember being in a relationship with her in the beginning and her constantly being in contact with her ex because he owed her money or whatever. Which I'm realizing, which I do realize now, I've come to realize was probably BS. Um, but she used to constantly call me, and I was just like, no, I'm not picking up. If you want to say something to me, just text me. I don't want to have a phone conversation with you. And at one point, she owed me something, like some papers, and she was really adamant about like giving them to me in hand. And I was like, just mail them to me. Who cares? Like, you know where I works, leave them there and I'll take them, and that'll be it, you know? And she was like, no, I have to sign them and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'll just forge your signature. If you agree to it, it's fine. Like, whatever. I didn't, I ended up meeting her. That was the last time I saw her. And we had dogs together, and she ended up keeping some of our dogs. And she brought one of our dogs on that day, and she was like, yeah, narcs love our energy, absolutely. She brought one of our dogs on that day, and she was like, oh, Biggie's in the car. And I was just like, I looked and I was like, and then I just looked at her like, sign the shit, let's go. Yeah, I don't want to be around you anymore. And then she was like, oh, you're not gonna react any more than that? Like, I thought you would be happy to see him. And in my head, I was like, I've said my goodbyes. Like, I'm not going inside your car to say hi to the, like, none of that is happening. Like, just I like, I think what she wasn't realizing at the time, what she wasn't realizing was that this is the last time you're gonna see me. I mean, you're never gonna see me again. Once I get your signature on these papers, you're literally never gonna see me again because she was so used to having people sort of hanging on a string and being able to pull people out of their shelves whenever she wants to use them. I also remember, breaking up with her when I broke up with her on Christmas. That was really funny. Like, she gave me like this 45-minute speech on why I was a bad boyfriend, and I just said, I asked her like, well, what about you? Do you have any flaws? And she was like, well, it doesn't matter. We're not talking about me. We're talking about you. And I was like, I mean, yeah, I listened to you for 45 minutes. I took notes and everything of everything you said. I just want to know, like, what about you? Do you have flaws? And then she named one flaw, and then she said that it was my fault. And I was like, okay. And I was like, what else? And then she named another one, and she said it, but it wouldn't be like that if it wasn't for you. And I was like, okay, what else? And then she named another one, and she said it was my fault. And then I was like, is there anything else? And she said no. And then I told her, so basically what you're saying is that any flaw you have is basically my fault. And she was like, well, kinda, yeah. And I was like, so if I leave you, basically you're perfect? And I lied to you not. My right hand on the Bible. The words she said to me was, well, at least like 99%. That's what she answered to me when I said, do you think you're perfect? She said, well, at least like 99%. And I was just like, oh shit. She like it kind of confirmed to me like, oh, she is a narcissist. And then, after I broke up with her, I told her, um, I think you are a narcissist, which, you should never call a narcissist a narcissist. You should just leave them, by the way. But I told her, like, hey, I think you might be a narcissist. And, our relationship is over, so it doesn't matter for me. But I'm just saying for your future relationships, you might want to work on that because it's going to hurt your future relationships. And what she answered to me, again, right hand to the Bible, I swear this on every person's life that I love. She said to me, I said, you might want to work on your narcissism because it's going to hurt your future relationships. And she said, no, I don't. I just have to find somebody else that has a lot of empathy. These are the exact words she said to me. She said them in French, but she said exactly that. She said, no, I don't have to work on it. I just have to find somebody else who has a lot of empathy. And at that point, that was the moment where I realized, oh, she knows. She knows she's a narcissist. She probably, like, I'm probably not the first person to even tell her that, that she's a narcissist. She's fully aware that she's a narcissist. And she's fully aware that, like, she just needs to find somebody that has a lot of empathy and she'll be fine. Because, people that have a lot of empathy can be easily manipulated and abused because no matter what you do to them, they'll feel bad for you more than anything, right? And I have a lot of empathy, so I feel bad for the people that are abusing me, but I'm not sticking around and, being friends with you or being in a relationship with you. You can go to hell, I'm just not going to stoop down to your level and abuse you back because I'm better than you in all regards, you know? Like, we're all humans and we all have flaws, but I mean, come on. The things you do, the things you're doing to me, I would never do to you for any reasons, you know? So, anyways, that was my little story. I hope it makes you feel better, Jem. It's gonna be okay. Just get away from these people. It's fine. Your future self will thank your past self for that decision. My present self, who is currently married, by the way, happily, very happily married. My present self thanks my past self for ending that relationship on Christmas 2019 every day. I'm just like, you, God, after 13 years of putting up with this stuff and constantly working on yourself and trying to change yourself to make her happy, which is like an impossibility. Uh, you know, um, Making a narcissist happy, uh, because they always move the goalpost anyways. And what a narcissist wants is not like what they say they want. What they want is more. They always want more, whatever it is. They just want more. So if your boundaries are there, they want more access. They want you to put them lower, and if you put them lower, now they want you to put them even lower. You know. Uh, Anyways, the point I'm making is I'm so proud of myself. For um studying up on narcissism and realizing what I was going through and where it started, of course, with my parent who was abusive and had um, conditioned me to accept narcissistic abuse. And I just looked at all past interactions with her and sort of realized like this is not right. I think she might be a narcissist. And I also remember one time we were watching the TV show Dexter. Dexter Morgan. Dexter is basically a serial unaliver that only goes after other unalivers, and like he only goes after bad people basically. And while we were watching that show, she at one point she turned to me and she said, "I think I might be a psychopath." And of course, being in complete denial about everything that was going on with, in our relationship, I'm like, no, 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 you're not a psychopath. Psychopaths have no emotion. You're highly emotional, right? Not realizing that she's not a psychopath. She's a covert narcissist, which is basically a baby psychopath. But they're actually emotional. Like they can feel emotions, unlike psychopaths who feel only, primary emotions like frustration, anger, jealousy, things of that nature. So yeah, it was very interesting. It was like a rude awakening for me, and I remember constantly telling myself while going through that experience that I'm never gonna be the same again. I'm just never gonna be the same again. Um, Hey, thanks for subscribing. Healing with Mama Love. My sound? What's wrong with my sound? Can you guys hear me or no? And here I am telling a cash story here, and you can't hear me. That would be terrible. Somebody let me know. Can you hear me? Okay, okay. You guys can hear me. All right. So yeah, hopefully that makes you feel better, Gem Gem, and hopefully it teaches all of you who are in abusive relationships, that getting out is great. It's perfect. It's the best thing to do, you know? It sucks in a moment because I mean, make no mistakes, to be in a relationship with someone who's abusing you and stay in there, it's it means you love that person. If you're willing to take abuse from someone, it usually means you love that person more than you love yourself, which you should never do. I love my wife. I love her. I love myself more, right? Which is why if my wife ever became disrespectful, I would leave her like that, right? It doesn't matter what we have, what we build together. My self-respect is worth so much more than anything material or anyone for that matter, you know? And it's not selfish, though it may feel selfish if you've been accustomed to narcissistic abuse. It may feel selfish to put your self-respect above everything else, but it's not selfish. I'm not allowing anyone to set me on fire to keep themselves warm. It's not happening. Whatever, whatever um you know what's the word I'm looking for? Therapy. Whatever therapy you need in order to no longer be an abusive POS, you get that handled, but I'm not anyone's punching bag. I mean, obviously, we are all, gang stalkers punching bags at this point, but I'm not staying in a relationship with anyone who is using me as a punching bag. I am to be respected in a relationship. You're not, and you cannot respect me. You're just not getting any energy from me if you don't respect me. That's sort of like, my mode of operation because the ego demands respect and the ego demands revenge, and I demand none of that. I demand, I demand self-respect from myself, and I know how to get it. So my self-respect is affected if I let somebody else disrespect me. I don't need you to respect me so for me to respect myself. If you disrespect me, I need myself to get away from you so that I can look at myself in the mirror and go, that's a man right there. This is a person deserving of respect, you know? Anyways, what kind of love is that? I will walk away from anyone who disrespect me in a heartbeat. 100%. 100%. Hey, Smile, you're human. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't. I'm sorry. What you're saying is very confusing, and you're very insistent on all these things. Uh, I don't understand. I'm sorry. Um, hey, D Brown. That's sad. Narcissists will always want new supply regardless. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. It was a trip when I found out that she was back with her ex the day after I left. I was just like, well, that's interesting. That's that's funny. Because I mean, after 13 years of, being together, if you go back to your ex, like immediately after I leave, it probably means that you were in contact with that person the whole time. More than likely, you know? Which, not that I care, but it's just like, what a scummy thing to do. Anyways, narcs are horrible in bed after a while during the discard period, too. Let me tell you something. Um, there is a saying, people say, like, oh, toxic people are good in bed. But the truth is, they're good in bed in contrast to the relationship. It's the only reason why you feel like they're good in bed is because the relationship is so awful that this part of the relationship is the only part where you actually feel any type of love or connection or happiness, right? Because you know they're getting what they want, you're getting what you want, right? Um, but they're not they weren't good in bed to begin with, you know? And when you're able to recognize an ugly soul, what a blessing it is to recognize to be able to recognize an ugly soul. But when you're able to recognize an ugly soul, it is very hard. It is extremely hard to find an ugly soul attractive in the face or in any place, right? Like once you're able to see how ugly someone is inside, they become ugly outside, you know? And the opposite is true as well. When you can see how beautiful someone's soul is, they become beautiful. Like, you know, a 10 with an ugly soul is a zero. A four with a beautiful soul is a 10. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, you know. Um, you may feel like they were good in bed at one point, but they probably never were. Um, that's really nice. You advised her. Well, you know, it fell on deaf ears, but you know, I do think it's important to mention, like, I did love this woman very dearly. I loved her. I was with her for 13 years because I loved her very much. It's just that I didn't love myself because I was not taught self-love. But her abuse pushed me to self-love as a defense mechanism. And once I grew self-love and I grew a backbone, then, you know, being with her was no longer an option because it was just like, well, now I love myself. And I can clearly see that you don't love me. So you're not even attractive to me anymore. Like I'm no longer attracted to you. Because when you don't love yourself and you encounter someone who also does not love you or themselves, um, the relationship can work because you'll accept bad treatment because you don't love yourself. But when you learn to love yourself and you encounter people who treat you with no respect, no consideration, no dignity, um, it's like a no-brainer. It's just like I'm not sticking around for that. I deserve better than that. What? I'm not, you know, I'm not negotiating respect. You either respect me or you don't. And if you don't, that's fine. But you got to find somebody else because you're not getting my energy. That's not happening. Denise Johnson. Thank you. But Jem Jem is right. I am married. My wife hates it when people flirt with me. She hates it. I once walked into a mall. My wife loves road trips, and we went on a road trip. Um, and we walked into a mall. She wanted to show me this mall. She was like, "Oh, there's like a sort of mini amusement park inside the mall. I want to show it to you." And I was like, "Great, let's go." I hate malls, but I love my wife. And we went, and as soon as we walked in, there were these three young white ladies, and one of them said hi to me, but it was like in a very flirtatious way, like, "Hey, how you doing?" But and I was just like, "Hi." And you know, I kept walking, but like she stopped, like she wanted to have a conversation with me, and like my wife was like walking a bit further, like back away from me, because you know, I had walked through the door and whatever. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it was just like such a weird thing, and like all day long, my wife was like, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, she hated that. That was actually really funny. And then my wife will, you know, sit there all day and say, you know, "I'm not jealous. I'm not the jealous type." I'm like, okay, all right, you got it, baby. The problem is people go for an eight when they're toxic. If you want inner peace, looks don't matter. Eaton Myers. Sorry, that's a funny username. Yeah, That is an issue, you know. I always say if a man wants peace, he must choose peace. And if you choose a life partner based on looks, you're in for some trouble. Um, you know, unfortunately, finding someone who's highly good looking and also beautiful inside is extremely rare. It almost, never happens because these people are usually taken and they're taken by somebody who's not letting go. Um, but yeah, it is what it is. A lot of my gang stalkers are ugly physically and have horrible soul as well. Does that make them a -4? It makes them a -100. Bad acting is bad acting. Okay. To be honest, you will neglect yourself for them until that reality hits you. Exactly. Exactly. You're right. Thank the Lord says, fuck gang stalkers. Yeah. They're not getting bed. They just get what they want. Mine wanted kids, and when I realized what he was doing, I stopped intimacy and never let him touch me. Yeah. When at the end of the relationship, I stopped all intimacy with my ex, and she didn't like that very much. She did not like that very much. When I broke up with her, like she continued calling me baby, and I was just like, "We're done. Like, stop calling. Like, I have a name. My name is Kevin. Call me Kevin. I'm moving out soon." Um, do you know abusive behavior or pattern is not physical? These narcissists drain your energy, and I dislike when I'm not feeling myself. My vibration is really low. Yeah. Most of the abuse that narcissists do, especially covert narcissists, it's psychological abuse. I mean, when it comes to like narcissists or gang stalkers, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. They're just trying to drain your energy, bring you down to a low vibration. It's called the gotcha game, right? It's they push and provoke so that you'll react, and then when you react, they get to play the victim. They get to act like, you see, you're the problem. This is why our relationship doesn't work. It's because you're constantly raising your voice, as if you didn't like say some wild disrespectful shit to me, that completely justifies me raising my voice. Now, obviously, I'm not saying raise your voice at people. I'm saying leave them if they don't respect you. But that's the game they play. They poke, provoke. Gang stalking is just narcissistic abuse in group, in like synchronized narcissistic abuse or narcissistic abuse by proxy. The person who actually wants to abuse you and hates you is not around to do it. They get other people to do it for them, and then they take any evidence of you losing your shit or saying things, you know, um, you know, saying things in anger or doing things in anger, and then they get people to hate you for it, or they get people to abuse you for it, right? It's like a sort of a snowball effect. And narcissistic abuse is very much the same, but it's one person doing it to you. But oftentimes they'll triangulate other people into it as well. You know, if they're not getting other people to also abuse you, they'll triangulate you with somebody else, like to make you feel like, oh, it's two of us against you, so you must be wrong. Like I'll give you an example of triangulation is like even your mom says you're crazy. You're crazy, you know? Or you have anger issues. Even your brother told me that you have anger issues. That's triangulation. It's like there's two of us that think you have anger issues now. So my opinion is more important than yours. Yeah, flying monkeys, right? I mean, obviously the example I gave you is not flying monkeys, it's triangulation, but yeah, my ex used to constantly get flying monkeys to you know, to sort of harass the people that she didn't like. She would come to you with like such a sob story, like, oh, this person is trying to destroy me. This person has it out for me. They hate me. Meanwhile, the truth is she's been antagonizing the hell out of this person, and Now she wants you to participate in her abuse tactics. And if you're dumb enough to fall for it, then you fall for it. But it is what it is. They basically try to create frustration in you and chip at you, provoke you, goad you, and then once you react, they go, you see, gotcha. It was you all along. Like dating a narcissist is sort of like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Dating a narcissist is kind of like watching an M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's like it's all very confusing, and at the end, you find out that you were the bad guy all along. Ah, narcissistic. Are you sure she didn't put you on the list? No, I'm pretty sure she didn't put me on the list. Actually, if I did, I would say it. I'm totally aware of who put me on a list, and it's not her. It's not someone even in my vicinity. It's not someone that lives in Canada. Uh, it's a California police officer that put me on a list. That's who. When you're physically and emotionally beautiful or handsome, please watch out. Narcissists look out for folks like us and want to be us, but they are not like us. That's true. That is true. If you're a good-looking person that has a beautiful soul, you will. I mean, yeah, you will definitely attract narcissists, and narcissists have this sort of like ideation where like they feel like if they are in a relationship with someone that has qualities, they can steal it from them or take it from them, and then they'll get mad at you for the same thing that attracted them to you. They will start to resent you and hate you for it because they've come to realize they can't take it from you. You know, they're vampires. Mine was police too. Yeah, I mean, police. The police are in on it, unfortunately. It's very unfortunate. My wife says it all the time. This world belongs to Satan. I'm always shocked how like none of this shocks my wife because my wife is not. I mean, she is now to a certain extent. I had a friend of mine who has a pet shop tell me that one of her clients came in and started talking about me. And this is someone I've never met. I don't even know who that person is, but she started talking about me, accusing me of all kind of things, and then she accused my wife as well of committing a crime, which my wife would never do. My wife is literally the sweetest person I've ever met. But when I told her that, I showed her the conversation, and I told her like, they're coming after you as well. Like none of this shocks her. She's just like, no, this is Satan's playground. I mean, the Bible was very clear about it. This world is owned by Satan. So it is what it is. Satan's foot soldiers. Yeah. And when I confront the people in my family or my friends that have joined into my gang stalking, I mean, some of them, feel very justified because of what they've heard or what they've been told or what they saw or heard me do in the privacy of my home. They feel very justified. I either gossiped about them or something like that. Something to that effect. But they feel very justified in what they're doing. But when I try to talk to them about it, and basically explain to them like, hey, this is a satanic, this is a satanic ritual that they've um, recruited you into. They think that I'm saying these things because I'm trying to get them to stop doing it to me, or because I'm trying to mend the relationship that we had. I don't care. I don't care at all. I don't want to be your friend anymore. Like me and you are over. I'm only trying to save your soul. It's sort of like when I broke up with my ex and I told her like, hey, you're a narcissist. You may want to work on this because for your next relationship, like me and you are done. Make no mistakes, like I knew me and her were done because she had become physical, and I can't take too much of that. If you put your hands on me, you can expect me to, put my hands right back on you. And obviously, she was a white woman. Obviously, you call the police and the police show up and you tell them she hit me first. That's like, it's not gonna fly, Like they're gonna look at you like, all right, boy, come with us. But she started putting her hands on me. So like I knew this relationship was over, you know? Like this could not go on. I was like, oh, I'm gonna end up in prison. This I'm not doing that, right? And I still told her, like, hey, this is something you need to work on. And I wasn't angry when I said it. I wasn't you know, I wasn't pissed off. I wasn't, I felt no emotion, but I would like to offer you some help before I go because I think this is something you might need to hear. And of course, I was shocked when she told me, this is not going to be an issue for me. I just have to find someone else with a lot of empathy. I was shocked because I I didn't believe that there were bad people on earth. I thought it was just people were just bad because they're being mistreated. And if you just love people, then people will be loving, right? I was this naive about the world. I mean, unfortunately. Um, so I was just really trying to help her out, like, let her know, like, me and you can't be together, but I still love you and I want the best for you. And I think that what would be best for you is to investigate this narcissism that you may be, a victim of, go to some therapy and, work on yourself so that your next relationship, if you find the person that you want to be with, um, you know, if you want the relationship to work out, then you can't continue the behaviors you are partaking in. And she just let me know, like, this is not an issue for me. Like, all of you are replaceable. You know, if I can't use you, I don't want you anyways. If I can't use you as a punching bag, if I can't disrespect you, if I can't, uh, um, you know, be in a relationship where you are serving me, I don't want to be in that relationship anyways. So that's what she let me know in like so many words. So I was just like, all right, you do you. I was just really surprised to see. I mean, I was surprised because I didn't fully understand narcissism just yet, but I was really surprised to see her not realize like you're never gonna see me again. Like, why are you trying, to like keep a relationship with me and you're trying to talk with me on the phone and trying to upset me like, you know, you could die tomorrow. I would not go to your funeral. I'd be sad because I loved you. You were a person I used to love, but you will never see me. Anyways, lucky you didn't have children. I don't think it would have mattered. I have to be honest with you, and you're not gonna like me when I say this, but if I had children with her, I would have abandoned them. I would have totally abandoned them. That's just the truth. I'm not saying this because this is something I'm like proud of or something that's right or something that you should do, but I would have never allowed myself to be in contact with her in any way possible. I would have paid child support for sure. I would have supported them financially, but I would not have allowed myself to be around her in any way because she would have used those kids or that kid to, abuse me further. I mean, she tried to do it with my dog, you know? So for sure she would have, hurt the kids in order to get to me or, use the kids in order to get to me. I would have abandoned those children. Like it would have been a no-brainer. I would have immediately been like, it's done. It's over, you know? What can you do? Especially as a man, what can you do, right? Oh, we got a moron in the chat. Sorry. Goodbye, John Roberts. I caught my ex in bed with her cousin. Ugh. Yeah. Most targeted have the same mindset. Yeah, I've come to realize that most targeted individuals are good people. You know, they don't go after bad people because they're the bad people. But yeah, most targeted individuals are, for the most part, they're just pretty good people. I mean, there are some bad people as well, some bad apples, you know. But for the most part, most targeted individuals are really, really good natured, good hearted people. Don't hang around if someone is trying to make you feel like them for no reason. What you could think of and your actions speak louder than your words all the time. Indeed, indeed. And this is why I don't react to perps or people switching up on me or whatever. I'm just like, you know, you own that. This defines you. It doesn't define me. You know what you how you feel about me because you're privy to things that I said or did while in private. I don't own that. You know, if I had a lens into your private life for 20 years, the way you have in mine, I would probably not like you either. The difference is I wouldn't abuse you. That's the difference. So at the end of the day, I don't have to prove it to you or to myself. I'm a better person than you. Here's the proof. You're abusing me. That's all the proof I need. I'm a better person than you. And that's my closure. That's the only closure I need. You know, I don't need an explanation as to why you switched up on me and what they told you. I don't care. I really don't care. Because no one could ever tell me anything to make me switch up on you or abuse you. Now, switch up on you, maybe I wouldn't talk to you anymore, but I wouldn't pretend to be your friend and like bait you and try to, I wouldn't target you. I wouldn't abuse you because I'm a good person and I'm better than you. And there's nothing you can do about it. These are the facts. I mean, the only thing you can do about it is no longer be a piece of, you know, and abuse me, but I don't think you will because that's who you are. It is what it is. Um, Especially when he put their hands on you, that's the end, to be honest. The day he put his hands on me, that was end. The day I started planning my exit. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint emotional abuse because you can't point to a bruise like, hey, she hurt me here in mi corazón, right? But once they put their hands on you, you can go, it hurts here because she hit me here. I'm leaving. They're going to be whatever they want you to be when you notice them by interacting with that person again. They're going to be whatever they want you to be. I guess what you meant to say is that they're going to be whatever you want them to be when you notice them by interacting with that person again. They're going to be whatever they want you to be. I'm sorry. I think I understand what you're saying though. But yeah, they will fake whole entire personalities in order to gain back access to you. It's called the abuse cycle, the narcissistic abuse cycle. It goes love bombing, which is when they make all the promises and they love you, the compliments, the really trying to impress you to get you to like them. Love bombing, devaluation. Um, oh yeah, love bombing, devaluation. That's the abuse part. That's when they basically start to realize that you're a human, that you have flaws, and you're not allowed to have flaws for a narcissist. You're supposed to be perfect because they think they're perfect. So once they realize that you have flaws, meaning that you don't do everything that it is that they think you should be doing, you don't say everything that they think you should be saying, you make mistakes, and you don't really have to make mistakes, honestly. You're just not providing enough for someone who wants more at all times. Then they feel like you deserve abuse because you're not perfect. And also, it very much correlates with gang stalking because you know whatever how am I to put this, however you feel about them, that's how they feel about you. So you may feel like the gang stalkers in your life have betrayed you, especially if they're your parents like VJ, right, or your siblings like VJ. you know or like me, and you may feel like they've betrayed you. But they feel like you betrayed them because they have information on you that makes them feel that way. They feel like you're a bad person. You feel like they're bad people. They feel like you're a bad person. You feel like you're a better person than they'll ever be. They feel like they're a better person than you'll ever be because of the information they have on you, or because it's who they are. It's who their narcissistic selves are in the first place, right? It's like, you did something wrong and now, you are to be judged and punished for it forever, um, to death. And, they do understand that this kind of treatment is not okay because if it happened to them, they would understand how unfair and wrong it is. But it's not happening to them and they don't have empathy. So when it does happen to you, it doesn't matter because as long as it's not happening to me, baby, it's fine. But when it comes to narcissists, it's the same thing. Once they come out of the honeymoon phase or the love bombing phase, they get into the devaluation phase where you're no longer perfect, so you deserve abuse. This is how gang stalkers feel about you because they've seen your imperfections. They feel like you deserve abuse, right? Gang stalking and narcissism is the same thing, which is why I'm so thankful for being in that relationship for 13 years and all of the abuse, everything that I went through. I'm so thankful for it because it taught me a great lesson to be able to combat this gang stalking, not in the physical, but here. I'm not worried about what people think of me that abuse me. Your character speaks for itself. You abuse a person based on information that you have on them through spying. Maybe you're not the one doing the spying, but someone who was spying on me illegally has given you information on me, and you feel that I'm deserving of abuse for that, and you choose to participate in that abuse. you know one of the person that was contacted, this person didn't abuse me. This person straight up deleted me off of Facebook and just stopped talking to me, and I respect that person because I did gossip about that person. Now, no, the gossip that I did about that person was she was doing pole dancing and she was doing it with her young infant daughter, and I just sent it to my wife and I was like, what is this? This is ridiculous. Now, this is my opinion, right? Now, some more liberal people may say like, whatever, like, pole dancing is a sport. It's not like stripping. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, it's not something that's right, personally, that I feel. But she was told about this. My guess is she was told about this and she just unfriended me, right? Like the day after. Um, which is why I'm led to believe that she was told about this. But um, the point I'm making is I have respect for someone who says, like, oh, I've heard you say these things about me. I'm just not going to talk to you anymore. I can understand that and I can respect that. And honestly, gossiping is wrong, and I was wrong. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if, like, from a moral standpoint, I was right, and I'm not saying from a moral standpoint I was right. I'm saying that from a moral standpoint, like, on my opinion about it, but I'm saying from a moral standpoint, gossiping is wrong, period. Right? If I had an issue with it, the only solution was to either be quiet or talk to her about it, right? Not to gossip about it. And though everyone does that, you might see something or whatever, you talk to your friend about it, like, oh, look what Britney Spears is doing. I don't know, whatever. But you might gossip about that. Everybody does it, but it is wrong. It is wrong, and I take accountability for my wrong, right? No matter what it is. But what I'm saying is that if something like that comes back to you, like something I said about you comes back to you, and you decide to abuse me for it and ruin my life, destroy my life, or participate in the directed conversations, at the directive of the person that gave you the information. There's some like really famous YouTubers in Montreal. Two of them, two black guys. I'm not gonna say their names, but it's two black guys that, like, they're like sort of like comedians, stand-up comedians, I guess. Um, that have participated in that with me. And because I had made a comment about some things that they were saying that I felt was wrong on my YouTube page. And they made their next video was like super directed conversation, like, that had a lot to do with like things in my personal life. And I just saw that and I was just like, oh, you guys are pieces of shit, like, have no respect for you. And Like I'm not gonna get upset about it. I'm just like, no, this doesn't speak to my character. This speaks to yours. Especially in their case because I didn't do anything wrong. Like I just, I gave them their props. I said I was a fan of them, and I just disagreed with an opinion that they shared that I felt was wrong and that was hurtful to abuse victims and whatever. The point I'm making is, however you feel about these people, they feel about you. So the abuse cycle, the narcissistic abuse cycle is love bombing. I ramble. Sorry, love bombing, devaluation, um, discard, breaking up, putting you on a shelf, and then Hoover, right? So it goes love bombing, devaluation, discard, Hoover. Hoover is when they suck you back into a relationship with them, right? So usually what will happen is they will, find you, love bomb you, and then devalue you because they realize you're human, you're not perfect, you're not filling the void that I have within me from, from my narcissistic wound when I was a baby. You're not fixing me. You're not making me feel better. You're not quieting my broken ego that is telling me that I'm worthless. You're making, and sometimes you might be making things worse, especially if you're holding me accountable to the messed up things I do. You're making me feel worse about myself. So you deserve to be abused. So they value, discard. That's usually when they find someone else. It's very rare that a narcissist will just leave you and be alone. They usually monkey branch. So they'll find someone else while they're devaluing you, while they're in that spot. They'll devalue you and also find somebody else. So, and then once they find a branch that is tight, that they feel like they could swing on and like end up in a safe relationship, they will discard you. And then once that relationship doesn't work out, because none of their relationships really work out, they'll suck you back in to get narcissistic supply from you. So, in my case, for example, the narcissist that I was with her for 13 years, but as soon as our relationship was over, she went right back to her ex, right? So I mean, I don't think it worked out because I did see her on a dating app like a few months later, and I was smiling just like I am right now when I saw her profile. I was like, But sorry, that's a little petty, but I feel like I deserve that. Um, but yeah, when their relationship doesn't work out, they come back to you and try to hoover you back. Not because they love you or they realize that they made a mistake. It's just because, whatever you were doing for them, no one else is doing it right now, and they're trying to get, you know, it's sort of like your it's usage. They're using you, right? So you're like a phone or a Game Boy, and your batteries ran out, and now they're like, I don't need you anymore. You're not useful. So they put you on charge and they go use another one. And then once the other one is no longer useful, they come back to see you to see like, hey, do you have any charge left? I need some narcissistic supply. I want to suck your blood. They're vampires. Yeah. They only told you that they were cousins so they could spend more time with each other without you assuming anything. That's all. That's a possibility, actually. You're not a better person than her. You're just a person that knows what real love is like and that never knows what's real or lust. That's all. However, when that's all you encountered through life, wow, sad. Well, thanks for your opinion. However, I will disagree with you. I'm a much better person than she is. Um, hey, Mr. Child Nation. So yeah, that's that's pretty much my rambling for for tonight. Anybody wanted to talk about anything before I go? I'm about to head out. I'm about to head off. I'm sorry for rambling, by the way. My bad, guys. You got it, Justice for Chosen. You got it. Well, it looks like no one wants to hear more of my stories. And I don't think I have more stories anyways. And it's been an hour and 40 minutes I've been talking, so I think I'm gonna go to bed. Well, like I always say, um, hmm. So as I always say, you deserve grace, you deserve mercy. Love yourself first, always. I'll see you guys soon. Have a great night, day. If you're in my time zone, go to bed now. And if you're in Australia, have a great day. I'm just grateful for the company I speak for myself and probably a lot of other targets that have been completely isolated from this gang stalking. Yeah, I mean, Steve, make no mistakes. I'm also isolated from the gang stalking. I have my wife, but um, you know, I don't have anyone else that is like willing to hear me out when it comes to, well, I mean, I have you guys, right? But that's the point I'm making. Aside from my wife, I don't have anyone else who's willing to hear me out when I have weird things that happen to me or anything like that. Um, and my wife has her limits. I can't ramble every day to her. Is it just eventually she's gonna be like, all right, I need a break. So I try not to overdo it. And I think that it's important to have this feeling of community. And at the same time, I also think that it's important to realize that a lot of gang stalkers are being manipulated with this feeling of community. They feel like they're a part of something. They're a part of something great. They're a part of something important. No gang stalkers is operating from a place of, I know what I'm doing is wrong. You know, they're operating from a place of, this is what I need to do to put food on the table, or they're operating from a place of, this person deserves this anyways, screw them, or they're operating from a place of, um, you know, I'm doing something right. I'm doing something important. I'm a part of a group that is doing something important, like a top secret mission. Like they feel like they're part of something greater than themselves. So, you know, I'm happy to be able to provide to you guys something something like that, but in a positive manner, like a feeling of community. Like you're not alone because this experience makes you feel like it's you against the world. I mean, it really does. I mean, even if, because our brains, listen to this, our brains are programmed to keep us safe, right? And in order to keep us safe, our brains hyper focus on anything negative, anything that makes us feel negative emotions. So when you are gang stalked and you're having all these negative experiences with people, you hyper focus on that. And it makes you feel like that's all that's happening. And it makes you feel like everyone is in on it, right? But the truth is, not everyone is in on it. Most people are not in on this, right? But you go through this enough, uh, and you have enough people turn on you, especially if it's family members. Once you have a sibling or your parent turn on you, you feel like, oh, everyone's in on it. If they can turn my parents, then for sure they can turn, my friends, they can turn, my coworkers, they can turn, the guy at my local gas station, whatever, right? So it really makes you feel isolated. And I personally feel like a great weapon against these tactics is um, giving us a feeling of community. So you thank me for, creating this platform and giving you a feeling of not being alone. But truly, it is I who thank you guys for, being here every time I come on live, and being there every time I post a video and sharing your comments and, you know, not just, you know, heeding my words and hearing my words and hearing my words of encouragement, but also giving me words of encouragement because I'm going through it as well, not as bad as like some other people, but it's pretty bad, like, uh, um, and it has been going on for me. It has been going on for like, it's gonna be 20 years now, you know. I'm pretty sure it is 20 years now. So it's it's something, it's not just something that I do, to help you guys, though it is, because make no mistakes, I am putting myself in danger here, like you can't just talk about a secret, CIA operation or a secret FBI operation or a secret DHS operation and like expect that nothing is going to happen to you, Gary Webb, who's a journalist who was the first journalist to uncover the CIA's operation, with flooding America with cocaine in order to fund the Nicaraguan Contras, the war in Nicaragua to remove the Communist Party there. You know, Gary Webb wrote a story about this and wrote a book about it and was very vocal about it. Gary Webb passed away of self-unaliving. Apparently, he self-unalived himself by putting two bullets in his head. I've never heard of anyone pew-pewing themselves twice in the head. That is a first for me, right? But his unaliving was ruled as self-unaliving, right? So I'm just saying, though I am doing this and putting my self at risk for doing it, you know, it's not just benefiting you, it's also benefiting me because being quiet about my abuse hurts a lot. I'm just not willing to be quiet about it. And if they're gonna do me, then what can I do about it? I mean, it's not like they're not trying already. You feel me? So I just don't see a point in being quiet. It's not like if I'm quiet, they'll leave me alone. They've made it very clear that it doesn't matter whether I'm quiet or not. I mean, it gets worse when I'm not quiet. Make no mistakes. It's gotten much worse, but it's not going to get better because I'm quiet. And being quiet about it is not even in my character. You know, the only reason why I was quiet about this is because I didn't know about it. I didn't understand it. So, you don't have to worry, Brittany. I'm never gonna stop talking about it. I mean, they would have to take me out, honestly. They would have to take me out or stop. And even if they do stop, I might not stop talking about it, you know? Um, has anyone else had traffic lights rapid change on them 3 sets in a row? It happened to me with police cars on either side of me. No. I had an encounter with the police. I moved here 7 months ago and I've had two tickets in my life ever since I started driving maybe 18 years ago. I've had two tickets in my life. In the past 7 months, I've had two tickets. So I'm quite sure that there's like a correlation with me being gang stalked and getting ticketed. But I had a weird experience with the police about maybe 3 years ago. I was at I was right behind a police car, and the police car was right at the line before the light, and the light turned green, and the police officer didn't move. And I'm not going to honk at a police officer, so I just stayed there. Right? I was just like, whatever, it's cool. I was on my way to my girlfriend's house at the time, who's currently my wife, and there were a bunch of cars behind me, and no one did anything. No one honked, nothing. Right? Which I thought was weird because I was like, can they all see that it's a police car in front of me? Like no one's honking. And I live in Montreal, so it's like people honk. The light turns green for 3 seconds, you don't move, they're honking, right? So I just stood there. I was just idled there, and then when the light turned yellow, the cop jetted off, right? And then I got to the line, but the light turned red by the time I got there, so I stayed. But where I live, it's on the outskirts of Montreal, and you're allowed to turn on a red light. So as soon as the light turned red, I looked around to see if there was a car coming, and I just turned. And as I turn, and and I was going, I saw the police car in front of me do a U-turn, and on the way back, we crossed each other, and the cop slowed down, and they were both staring at me like this, you know? And I was just like, what was that for, you know? But police are thugs. They're thugs. They're thugs. They're dangerous. Anyways, and if I had done something as foolish as honk at them, they would have like took much joy in ruining my day, you know? They were just kind of waiting for that. Anyways, so no, I've never had traffic lights rapid change on me before, but I've had encounters with the police, and I've had um I've had animal control sent to my house on accusations of animal abuse, and they requested to see my animals, and of course, there was no animal abuse, no signs or anything. Their report said clearly, there are no signs of animal abuse or anything like that, but they were doing directed conversation with me when they came to see my animals, and they what did they say? They said, you know, if someone is making false accusations against you, you should probably call the police. And I was just like, oh no, I know who it is. It's this old lady, whatever. Like she's something is wrong with her, whatever. It's no big deal. And they were like, no, you should really call the police. And they had like these little smirks on their faces because they knew like if I called the police, like they had a plan for me, like like this was gonna get worse for me. Um, like there would be more abuse, more directed conversation, you know. Anyways, but yeah, the police are definitely in on it for sure, 100%. Intimidation, yeah, yeah. I mean, the person who made a complaint to animal control on me actually sent me emails and messages saying, I've been hearing this and I've been hearing that, and I can't believe you would do this and I can't believe you would do that, and blah blah blah. And I was just like, I never even responded to that person. I was just like, what are you even talking about? And then after a while, I started to realize that I was being gang stalked because I saw a post on Instagram about gang stalking, and then I researched it, and I was like, that's everything that's happening to me. People talk about what I said the day before, what I did the day before. When I'm at work, I'll watch a movie and they'll start quoting that movie to me. Or if I played chess, they'll start talking about chess. Or if I research if I research East and West Germany this morning, somebody's in the chat talking about East Germany, East and West Germany in the chat, and I'm just like, this is insane. And when I started to do more research, I started to realize that, oh, this has been going on for like 20 years. And the person who signed me up for this watch list, actually, I was on a pit bull forum, an American bully forum. It's a breed of pit bull, and they were doing it to somebody else, and they were in a chat with that person, and that person was like, "You guys are playing with my life, blah blah." And I was just like, "What are you talking about? What did they do to him?" I didn't understand. It's like, "You guys need to leave me alone. I'm calling the FBI, blah blah blah." And I was just like, "What?" And then, you know, lo and behold, they were doing it to me too. So, and it's a police officer that was behind it, and he was really proud of himself. His name is Mike, by the way. I can't find him anymore. He used to breed American bullies, but I can't find him anymore. I can't find his name, nothing. I can't find his last name. And everybody who knew him is no longer talking to me. So they won't tell me like his name or anything like that. I still bump in my music even if the police is around. Fear is an illusion. Yep. But honking is illegal. Honking somebody because they're idling at a light, that's illegal. Honking should only be used for emergencies. From a legal standpoint, I would have gotten in trouble for honking. So I was just like, I don't mind waiting a few more seconds. That doesn't do anything to me. It's fine. I'm not in a hurry anyways. I've been gang stalked due to being alone and vulnerable, like homelessness, reacting to someone monitoring me at time, especially on social media. It's like, how do you get over it and look over it? When I've seen some get the absolute worst of it, intimidation. How do you get over it? You mean how do you not react to it? It's actually pretty easy, honestly. To not react is just don't react, you know? Try it. And you know, I know like what I'm saying sounds really stupid, but try it and you get good at what you practice because you're used to reacting to it, you know? But has that helped you? Try not reacting to it and see how you feel. Not in the moment, because that sucks. Not reacting, because your ego is like telling you like this is BS and you don't deserve to be treated like you know, that's your ego talking, which is fine. We all have an ego and we all need to take our egos into account as well. But we can't be ruled by our egos, you know? I think it's really important to try not to react because it's narcissistic abuse. And the only way to handle narcissistic abuse is to not react to it. So try not reacting to it and see how you feel about not reacting to it 3 weeks later. Just try it. I'm telling you, you know, never ever will you be like, I'm so glad I reacted to this abuse. I'm so happy. You know, you'll always feel worse about it. You'll feel better in the moment and then you'll feel worse about it. What I'm telling you is that not reacting to it will make you feel worse in the moment and then it'll make you feel much better later on. You'll be like, I feel so at peace though these vampires try to suck my blood, but I don't let them in here. Try it. Give it a try. You'll get good at it if you just give it a shot. Try it. And if you fail, pick yourself back up and try again, you know? It doesn't matter if you're trying and you fail. Keep trying. Eventually you'll just be like, this is a much better way of living. Much better. I testified against them at a royal commission into police corruption. They ruined my life. Yeah. Whistleblowers are a major part of the targeted individual community. You know, there is the story of John Lang in Fresno, California, who whistle blew on an operation where police officers were taking license plates numbers in a poor neighborhood, and then they would give them tickets. It was a scam to like make money. And he whistle blew on the operation, and then he started getting gang stalked by the police department. Like he has actual proof of them gang stalking him. And then he said on Facebook, you know, if anything happens to me, I didn't do it to myself. The Fresno Police Department did it. And then like maybe a few days after, less than a week after he posted that on his Facebook account, he was no longer alive. He was found in his home. His home had been burnt and his body was found inside of his home, burnt up, and he had multiple stab wounds to his chest. And then the same police department that he was saying was gang stalking him deemed his unaliving to be a self-unaliving. Apparently, he poked his own self in the chest with a knife and then burned his own house down after he said that the Fresno Police Department was after him and gang stalking him. And, you know, obviously, the police investigated themselves and found that they did nothing wrong. So, whistleblowing on the police will get you gang stalked for sure. Stay safe out there. It's crazy making because you can see the connections but can't fully prove it, you know, but get gaslit. Yeah, all narcissistic abuse behavior are crazy making behaviors. All of it. The point is to make you go crazy. That's really the point. Some narcissists do it consciously, some do it subconsciously, but the point is always to make you go crazy so that they can point the finger at you and say something like, "You see, you're nuts. You're nuts. You need to see a specialist. You need to go see a psychiatrist. All of us think the same thing. You need help. You need psychological help." Or it's to make it's to be able to go, "You see, you're violent. You're a problem. We need to get you off the streets. You're a danger to society. You're confirming it for us." You know, the whole point is to make you go crazy so that they can point the finger at you and then say you're the problem. It's projection. I got stalked while living alone as a female at an apartment in a big city. A female friend of mine was jealous of me and was also living there. She made psychos pay attention to me. Yes, it's unfortunate. I saw this company, Revenge for Hire, JMC Yahweh. This new member to my channel shared the link with me, and they have this package called Total Annihilation, and it was the only package that they were not willing to discuss. And they said this package costs $10,000, and then 500 subsequent every month that this operation lasts. And he's basically it was being run by an ex law enforcement officer, and he was very proud of his work. He was like, "Oh, we bring justice to those who can't get justice from the law or whatever." And I'm just like, "No, you're vigilantes, you know, like, and you're not even good vigilantes. You're the bad guys. I mean, really, you're evildoers. You know, like, if I give you $10,000, you'll get me justice by ruining whoever I tell you to ruin their lives. You're not a good person. You're not the hero." But obviously, saying that is useless, because when it comes to narcissists, they either see themselves as the victim or the hero of any story, and they're unable to take accountability for any of their behaviors. And this is why they always tell, half truths and half stories, because if they had to be honest about everything within the story, they would also have to be honest about what it is that they done that was wrong, and they're unable to do that. It's like, yeah, you spied on me and you caught me saying something about someone, but you also spied on me. You know, it's like you illegally spied on me. Like, you weren't alerted that I did something wrong and decided to spy on me. That's not what happened. Somebody alerted, you for retaliation or for money, and you started to spy on me. And, within 20 years, yeah, you caught something. Obviously, if I was spying on you 24/7 through your phone or your laptop, I would catch you doing something too. Um, but they're never going to be able to be honest about what it is that they've done or anything that they've done wrong, because they're narcissistic psychopaths. And you know I don't need the approval of anyone who is a narcissistic psychopath, or anyone who follows or believe what a narcissistic psychopath says or does. It's like, to me, you're either evil or you're an idiot, and I cannot suffer any of you. And I don't base my value on any of your opinions. You can play your little games if you want. You're going to hell. It doesn't. It makes no difference to me. And if you put your hands on me, I'm gonna break them. So that's it. Two bullets, absolutely non-existent. Yeah, yeah. I mean, two bullets to the head, and they call it self-unaliving. It's Gary Webb. You can Google him. Gary Webb. He uncovered the CIA operation, basically where all these drug dealers were saying that the people they get their drugs from are either CIA officers, ex-CIA officers, or connected to CIA officers, by friendship or family or things of that nature. And they realized that, it's the CIA doing it. They're doing it to fund the war in Nicaragua. And Gary Webb got the CIA special. The two bullets to the back of the head, self-unaliving. You're right. Most of the time they feed off that turmoil. Yeah. Yeah, they want to upset you so that they can be the good guy in comparison to you. That's all it is. Move in silence. Gray rocking is the only way to coexist with narcs. Gray rocking. This is a touchy subject. There is no coexisting with narcs. Hmm? There is no coexisting with narc. Gray rock is what you do in order to mitigate the damages that they cause you before you're able to leave. That's all it is. Gray rocking is not a way to coexist with narcs. You cannot coexist with narcs. They want you dead. Make no mistakes. They hate you. They hate everybody. They hate themselves too. Gray rocking is only a way to mitigate damages while you are forced to interact with them. But the only way to coexist with a narcissist is to not exist with a narcissist. Leave. There was a meme going about with someone sleeping peacefully that said, "This is how I sleep knowing I didn't react to my gang stalking." That is very funny, actually. You're right. Most TIs lost their social security card before in the past once or twice. My social security card got robbed. I was robbed. They stole my wallet. I had like $1,500 in there too. But they stole my social security card. You're right. You're right. Right before I moved, as I was moving, I brought some was I moving? No, I was going to pet sit for a friend who turned out to be a gang stalker too. I was about to go pet sit and I was moving a bunch of stuff because I was about to go stay at her place for like a week. And while I was moving my stuff, my wallet disappeared. Never found it. It's been over a year now. I never found it. You're right. They stole my social security card. Anyways, reactive abuse, my favorite. They gaslight mental health. Yeah, yeah. Every time I talk about these things to my family members who participate in this, or every time I have talked, because I don't talk to these people anymore, but every time I have talked to them, they always say the same thing, like, "Oh, you need to see like a psychiatrist. You're losing it, blah blah." And I'm like, "No, you did directed conversation with me. You can own up to it, or you can lose the relationship we have." And I realize that you probably don't care, but no, own up to what you did. I'm owning up to what I did. I gossiped about you, and I'm telling you, this is what I said about you. I apologize. I'm sorry. You can accept my apology or refuse it. It's fine. I totally respect that. But you are gang stalking me. Stop pretending like you're not. And if you want to pretend like you're not, that's fine too. But you're dead to me now. And you're older than me. I'm probably gonna show up to your funeral. I'm gonna laugh. I'm going to dance on your grave. And if you think I'm not, you're mistaken. I will dance in front of your casket, in front of your children. I'm gonna laugh. And I'm gonna feel no way about it. I'm gonna go home and sleep like a baby after. You shouldn't have did that fuck shit to me. What's wrong with you? It's all illegal. Yep. Gotta go. Have a good day, all. Hey, I gotta go too. Have a good day, Justice for Chosen. All right, I gotta go too. Like I said, I'm sorry. I'm going out on a bit of a negative note here. Uh, that's what I don't get. We own up to things with gang stalkers. It's like they have a code of silence, never taking accountability. They've signed the NDAs. They signed NDAs, and they're fully aware that you're being spied on, and they're afraid of the consequences for breaking their NDAs. Or sometimes, they just feel like you deserve what's happening to you anyways. So screw you. I'm not telling you anything. But they've signed NDAs, especially if they're getting paid. They sign NDAs, and they're just like, "I'm not messing up my money for you," you know. Anyways, I'm sorry for ending this on a negative note, talking about dancing on somebody's grave. Uh, you know, I'm not saying that I wouldn't do that because I probably will. I'm just saying that um, this is not a positive thing. But I'm not perfect, guys. I'm definitely not a perfect man. I'm not above um I'm not above being hurt by family. I mean, when it comes to like friends, coworkers, neighbors, I'm just like whatever. When my family started joining in on this, it really did affect me, especially like, family that I actually loved. Um and people that raised me, it leaves a nasty, nasty taste in my mouth. It's just like, how is that possible? You know, I have a sibling who's in on it too. But I've always known that this sibling of mine was an evil person. I've always known, you know. Uh, anyways, I don't want to talk too much about that sibling of mine, but I want to leave on a positive note. And I always leave on a positive note. So I'm going to leave you on this. I'm sorry, Lisa Rudley. I do have to go. I'm going to leave on this positive note, how I always end my lives. I'm going to end on a prayer. Is that okay? Uh, you know, does anyone mind? I'm going to make it quick. Um, Dear Heavenly Father, I pray that you give all of us the patience to deal with our hardships. I pray that you give all of us, that you bless all of us with the wisdom to know how to behave for our best interests in this situation. And I pray that you find all of your lost sheep within this program and guide them towards your light. Heavenly Father, I thank you for the opportunity every day to do good unto our fellow men, our brothers and sisters. I thank you for waking us up every day and giving us the blessings that you give us. And for our enemies, I pray for justice, however it may look like to you. Amen. Always remember, you deserve grace. You deserve mercy. Love yourself first. Always. I love you guys.